Hey there, this is Erica from Ever Educating, and this channel is teaching tips, tools, ideas, and resources for new college instructors. We're wrapping up this month's Notion theme by talking about some miscellaneous uses for this tool as an academic, but I thought I'd just have this kind of wrap up of the month video with some things we hadn't discussed that can be helpful if you're using Notion as an academic. We're back on my dashboard, which we covered last week, but today I wanted to go to this miscellaneous section and just show you some ideas of how you can use this tool to help navigate other kind of content that you can create as an academic. So we're focusing here on ones related to teaching. And so you have maybe creating a small activities database, major assignments database, rubrics, if you do similar rubrics for similar assignments, and then maybe a basic skills for students database. So if you teach a lot of freshmen, you might always teach citations across your courses and always teach, how to annotate a resource. And so you might have those that aren't course specific, but more like freshman specific maybe. So these are just a few ideas here, databases you can create that will help with navigation of your various ideas. So when you see here, you have this database, and I'll show an example of creating one in a second here. But for this one, you have all these different types of small activities that you might do across your courses. And each of these is its own page that when you open it up, you can have information about, hey, this is when I use this activity, here's the instructions that I give to students, here's the resources that I use. So you can have on the actual page itself information about the particular assignment, right? So let's say if I open this one, then you have here like, hey, this is information specific to this particular activity. Here's some resources. I use this PDF, I use Purdue OWL, that kind of stuff. So these are all pages. And then you have here something that I haven't shown yet this month is the multi-select option for what this is, right? What this name, right? What this first column is. So for the fishbowl discussion, activity type, well, it's a discussion and it involves a whole class. The group mini analysis is a small group activity and it's focused on analysis. The whiteboard race, this is a whole class activity. It focuses on analysis too. And then the whole class discussion, MLA citations, it's a whole class and it's a discussion. So you're kind of giving like what type of activity is it? Is it a discussion? Is it a small group activity? Is it analysis activity? Is it whole class? Is it whatever the case may be, right? You might even do things like, is it an individual activity, right? You might have those as well. And then we also have a second property that's also multi-select, and this is the content focus. So for example, here, maybe you have a very specific type of activity you do when you're analyzing poetry. So you're gonna wanna say like, hey, so this is a poetry assignment. Like I assign these when I'm teaching poetry. I assign this one when I'm teaching MLA, So you might have ones that, oh, this is a type of activity I always use when I'm teaching, I don't know, this framework or this moment in history or this event, right? So content focus versus like activity type. And then here this is actually linking to my course database from, again, a couple weeks ago that I showed. And so in this case, it's like, okay, well, here's the courses where I use this activity. So maybe you want to go into that specific detail of like, yeah, this is when I use these particular activities. So in this case, why is this helpful? When you have a gallery view, I have here all of these assignments and I can say, you know what, like I'm teaching a new course and I need some ideas for my small class activities. I want to filter all of my activities in my database and I want to look for the activity type, ones that are small group. And then the small group one pops up, right? And you might say, you know what, I also want to filter and I want to look for ones that are focused on poetry, right? And so now you have both filters. Like, okay, I don't have a small group activity that's focused on poetry. Maybe I should create one, going forward. And so you're like, you know what? Actually, I'm not looking for one that's related to poetry. Let's just do small group because that's the most important thing. And this one pops up again. So you have this way of really navigating through all of your small activities to find ones that are meeting what you're looking for. I'm not looking for small group. I'm looking for all of my discussion activities. And they all pop up and it's like, yeah, that fishbowl one. I want to do that next week. Let me open this up and I see information about the fishbowl.
So that's what makes it really useful when you have this kind of sorting possibility in Notion. And you might decide as well, like, okay, well, I want to go ahead and when I see, so let's get rid of all the filters. So we see all these, and you only see the name of the activity. Like, you know what? I want to see more on this gallery first view. So you can go here and say, hey, so the properties that you show is the name, but I also want to see the activity type. Okay. And so now all those pop up. And like, you know what? I don't need to see the activity type. I want to always see the focus, right? Because I want to see like, oh yeah, I want to see all my poetry ones kind of quickly. I can glance all of them at once without even having to filter. I can kind of get a quick view of it and I can filter if I want to after the fact. So whatever property you add, so whatever is across here on the table can be shown on the main page if you just say, hey, I want to see these properties, right? So you can kind of see all the courses that the activities used in if you want to do that too. So that's kind of in a nutshell another way that you can use this database feature to have like multiple labels for whatever it is that you're sorting to make it really easy to navigate through in the gallery view. Now, of course, when you have this table, like you can filter tables too. I just don't like this view that much. But if you want to go ahead and say, hey, I want to filter by activity type and I only want to see my discussions, it will do this as well. Like it's not you need a gallery. I just happen to like the gallery view more than I like the table view. Okay, but the table view is the easiest way of building, in my opinion. So that's kind of an overview of this database. Now, again, kind of show you how to make it in case, you need a starting point and you haven't seen the other videos. So let's say I'm going to create a major assignment database. So I go down here and I backslash and I say, hey, I want to make a database in line and I want to call it major assignments database. And so again, here I'm listing out all of my major assignments. So I have a whole playlist of major assignment ideas in case that interests you. I'll link it below. But let's say we have here creating a lesson plan is one of your assignments for your students, and a group presentation is another major assignment, and then just one more, let's say an annotated bibliography. Okay, so these are all of the assignments that you've taught or that you've assigned so far. Now you're going to go here to that plus sign and say, okay, I'm going to add a property. And the property you're adding is the multi-select. Okay, so not status like I showed before, but multi-select, because in this way you can add more than one label to each of these items. So you have here, what kind of assignment here? Well, this is tied to my education courses, right? I only assign lesson plans when it's my ed students. So maybe I want to say here education. And then, education, and then enter, right? So I made that one. And for my group presentations, I do those at all of my courses. So I'm going to add education. And I'm also going to add the literature because I assign these in my literature courses. And I also do this in my writing courses. So enter there as well. So now we have the tie here, and then annotated bibliography. Maybe I only assign this in my literature and writing courses, not my education courses. So you can go back to multi-select here and you can say, hey, this is, course type that I want to do here. You can also click here and change the icon in case that interests you as well. I'm going to keep it as is, but you can change that if you want to. And so now you've created that first category. In this case, it's the types of courses you're likely to assign these major assignments. All right. Now you might also want to have another category here that's also multi-select, and maybe now it's tied to, the number of students, right? Is it group or is it individual? And actually, since it's kind of like either or, maybe you want to have here just a status property, right? And so the status options are individual, make that yellow, and then group, and we can keep that blue. And then in this case, we don't need a third one, so we're going to delete that, right? And so now you have that this one is a group and the other two are individual. This is if you only assign assignments that are like one type. So like there's going to be no assignment that can be either group or individual, then the status is great. But maybe you sometimes pair students for lesson planning and sometimes it's an individual assignment. Then again, I would use that multi-select option. And I'd say, people, let's say. And in this case, we're going to have individual as a category and then group as a category. And so now this is a group one, and maybe this is always individual. Okay, so the multi-select if there's more than one possible label for an item, and then potentially status if it's just, hey, this is either or, right? So once again, let's say we're going to go ahead and remove this because we do want it to have more than one option. So we'll delete that property. So these are like the main elements that we covered here. Now this third one, right? So this is tying to my course database from that other page, my courses page. So how you do that is you say, hey, these assignments are connected to another database. And I want you to note that. So if you do plus here, you can say relation, right? Because these are related to another database. And so you go through and like, okay, what database is it connected to? It's connected to my course list. Okay. And so you can make it a two-way relation so that this database also pops up in your my courses database. You want to see it in both. Then you can say, yeah, I do want it to appear in both. For now, I'm just going to have this add relation because, I'm going to keep it simple here. So now you have this course list column as well. And so when you go here, you can say, okay, the lesson plan is always assigned in English 230 because that's for my English education folks. The group presentation I like doing in my Trill and Zit course and my young adult course as well. And the anti-bibliography, I might do in any literature course that I teach. So I'm going to put it here and here and here. These are my writing courses. Okay. And so now you have all this created. And so now to create that gallery view that you see in this second tab, you go to the plus sign next to table and you say, hey, I want a gallery view of everything that I've created here so far. So it looks like this, right? So which is different than this gallery. And that's because you need to just do a little editing here. So if you go to the ellipses and you say, hey, I want to look at the layout of it. Yes, I want it to be gallery, but the card preview, I don't want to have one, right? So I'll just show me whatever properties I say should appear on the card. Now, if you do having the page cover, it looks blank now, but let's say you open up here and you said add cover and added that, let's say. Now you see that cover. So that's just if you want to make it a bit more visual appealing. But for now, let's go ahead and say in the layout, I only want to see nothing, right? I don't want to see the cover or the content, just that. And so once again, you go here and you can say, hey, properties, I also want to see the people, right? Whether it's an individual or group option here. And that's what I want to see in my cards. And then if you want to filter again, you go to filter here. And what are you filtering by? And you can say, I want to filter my course list and I only want to see my English 170 assignments. And now you see those. So that's how you build that database. And you see the gallery view, how you filter, how you look at various properties. And again, you can connect it back to a different database that you've created if that is what you want to do as well. So you can do the same process for all of these, right? So that way you can really navigate through like, hey, I'm looking for all my rubrics that are tied to papers. And now I want to see all my rubrics that are tied to presentations. Okay. I want to see all of my resources that are tied to citation. Okay. So that's what I really like about this. It's you're not searching through your Google files or your Dropbox or whatever. It's I have this all listed here. And then now I can just really filter really easily. And let's say though that you're like, okay, well that's great, but I want to be able to actually like find the resources that I have in my Google Docs or in my Dropbox or whatever the case may be. That's really simple to do. let's say we open up this lesson plan page and you have this here, then in the actual body of the page, you can say, hey, I want to connect to maybe a web link, right? So you have the web link to your Google Drive file, then you can paste that link here and say, hey, create that bookmark. And now you can go to it really easily, right? So that's kind of showing you, if we go back here, I believe it was this one where I had those resources. So in this case, I was looking to a web bookmark. This is a file, okay? So if I do /file, then I can go ahead and upload a certain file or embed a link depending on the type of file that it is. You can also, if you wanted to, actually embed Google Drive to Notion itself, and that way you can access it really easily. So maybe you just want to embed the folder tied to a specific assignment or to a course, or the case may be. You can do that here as well. You actually can do a lot of embedding of various tools, so you can kind of just do that / and kind of go down here and see all the different embeds that might work well with your particular setup for your courses or your research or your service here. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell of how to create these databases and also how to link to another database as well using that relation tool. There's obviously a lot possible with Notion, but this was just, again, kind of 4 weeks of some basic stuff, but a little more intermediate as well to help you out in your academic life.
If you found this video helpful, click like and let me know, and subscribe to not miss out on future content. I'll have linked below the earlier Notion videos of the month, and next month we'll start a new theme, so I hope to see you there if you're a member of the Ever Educating community, or if you just want to pass by and not subscribe yet, that's okay too, but hopefully I'll see you there.